The original instigation of setting up the Synergy Centre was the work that we've been doing with the Kakachichi Master Drummers from Ghana, who I started working with in 1996, and we've toured them around the UK now a total of 8 times. And obviously as a result of that we've got very strong connections with Ghana. During one of my visits I met a chap called Mackenzie, who is a youth worker in one of the more deprived communities of Accra, where also the drummers are from. And there are a lot of young people, many of whom have got good levels of education but can't find employment. And a lot of them, particularly the men, tend to get quite despondent and depressed about the lack of opportunity that's available to them. One of the things Mackenzie does is to try and inspire them through activities, particularly sports and arts related activities, tries to instill in them a sense of leadership, that they can take initiatives for themselves rather than having to wait for people to come and lead them for themselves.
My name is Mackenzie Golightly. I'm the Director of Community Sports and Artistic Trust, Ghana. I'm here to explore what the Synergy Centre is doing with young people and also an exchange program. So I think it's a great idea to have these 2 opportunities to help young people partnership in to open a centre in Ghana. And then we believe there are more for us in terms of sharpening of skills for those that are working around the young people's project. So I think it's quite reasonable for coming here, and it's also a great opportunity. I've met a lot of people and I continue to meet a lot of people. Thank you.
Interestingly, also in our own local community there are a lot of problems facing young people as well. Different problems, but also perhaps due to a lack of opportunity, that there's a real shortage of creative facilities, there's a lack of things for young people to do. So one of the things we're trying to do is facilitate exchange projects between young people living in deprived communities in London and young people living in deprived communities in Africa and elsewhere. Partly to discuss what do we mean by poverty and what do we mean by deprivation, because when you go to Ghana you'll see people living in a real state of poverty. The communities that we work in, for example, people share a water pipe between 300 people. Most people don't have a bed to sleep on. So when young people over here have all of these things and quite a lot more besides, the idea is taking them down to Ghana, they'll see how people really live in real poverty, and that'll then perhaps raise their awareness that actually in the West we enjoy an unprecedented level of material wealth, but yet we suffer from the poverty of culture and spirituality that people in the developing countries still have in abundance. Facilitating exchange between young people here and there aims to explore these issues and try and educate both sides as to how they can learn from each other, support each other, and realise actually that the Ghanaians, for example, have wealth, though they also sometimes think they're poor because they're comparing themselves to the West. And people in the West might also think they're poor because they're comparing themselves to other richer people in the West, but compared to people living in Ghana, they're very rich indeed. Well, we're very keen to set up a community video production company, working with some of the more kind of established professionals that we know through our networks, just to try and get the young people to use film and video as a means of expressing themselves. Sometimes the young people have problems communicating, and their communication skills are sometimes very underdeveloped. And so giving them access to technologies such as digital video cameras and digital video editing, and also encouraging them to edit and create in a creative, innovative fashion, I think is a good way of enabling them and empowering them to communicate about their social realities. One of the things that we hope to do over the next 2 to 3 years, both in this country and elsewhere as well, is to get young people to make documentaries about their own lives, focusing on Millennium Development Goals, which were adopted by the United Nations as targets that communities should seek to achieve in the new millennium, to do with poverty, to do with the environment, to do with reproductive health, to do with universal education and so on. And then get other young people in places like Ghana or Namibia to also make films and videos about their communities, and then get the young people to share their work online and then encourage discussion and debate about how it is to live in Camberwell as portrayed by young people from Camberwell, and how it is to live in Ghana as portrayed by young people in Ghana. And then ultimately, particularly using a bit of European youth exchange money, which we're looking into, to get young people from Camberwell to travel to Ghana and get young people from Ghana to travel to Camberwell and get them to make a documentary about their perspectives on the life of the young people that they're visiting, which is very much what Synergy is all about, is using creative media as a means of achieving some form of social expression and discussion about social realities.